is up, folks? Thank you once again for watching Let's Chat with me, Meor Addelan. Now, definitely the world has been hit with this current pandemic that we're experiencing right now, COVID-19. Everybody is feeling the strain. In Malaysia, definitely. But we do realize that this is actually a world pandemic and it has hit all the countries very, very hard, especially in Europe. Europe was actually one of the few places where it got started and it hit it so hard, especially in Italy. Way back then, they had a very high number of infection going on. The whole country was under lockdown. People couldn't really go out at all, not even to get groceries. And it has gone to a point where it was really, really bad across the region. And unfortunately, until today, some countries in Europe is still enforcing lockdowns or even proper control environments so that they will be able to curb this pandemic from spreading. And to discuss more about the situation down in Europe, I have a very good friend of mine who is in Dublin, who is in Ireland right now. Ladies and gents, allow me to introduce to you a student of psychotherapy, ladies and gents, Mr. Alexander Kenny. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Now, as mentioned on top of the show, you're not with us down here in KL. You're actually in Ireland right now. You're up there. How's the weather like right now? It's this time of the month where you're usually out there basking under the sun, going to parks, going to have a cup of coffee out there. But it's not really something that you can do freely nowadays, can you?
No, it's definitely limited at the moment, to be fair. The weather actually today is being typically Irish, which is kind of cloudy, sunny, windy, rainy, and just it keeps changing every 5 minutes. So it's an
That's
island.
Ireland in a nutshell, isn't it? I mean, like you
Yeah.
can't expect anything better than that more often than not.
No, it's kind of chaotic weather-wise. We were very lucky, I have to say, during the hardest part of the lockdown, where with the most restrictions, we had incredible weather, which was good and bad. It was good for people's sort of mental health. It was very hard to keep people indoors and away from each other because when the sun was out, everybody just wanted to run out and be beside the sea or in the parks. So it was tricky actually for them to try and control that during the harshest part of the lockdown. But yeah.
Yeah, let's just rewind back a bit because, as I mentioned earlier, yes, Europe is definitely one of the continents that was really hit
Yeah.
hard when the pandemic started earlier in the year. And as you mentioned, a lot of countries have been practicing about social distancing. It has been announced through various mediums advising people, educating people for them to be able to not be at risk in contracting the virus, the pandemic that has been going on. How has that been in regards of the welfare of the people themselves, especially in Ireland? How has the people of Ireland themselves been coping with this lockdown, with this isolation that they had to go through?
Yeah, it depends really on the type of person. I've noticed a lot of different reactions to it. So maybe people who are more positive or in a good place mentally, they're seeing some advantages almost, or trying to see the best or take the best out of the situation. But I think it has been just really stressful on people overall. People have definitely been struggling. We've been obviously, probably like the rest of the world, very reliant on technology to communicate with each other. But the Irish are, they're incredibly sociable. You have this pub culture here, which is such a integral part of our society and the way that we relate to each other. And having the pubs locked or closed has been a big struggle for people. People have got a lot more creative and sort of inventive. So there's been a lot of hanging out in people's gardens and putting on a fire at night. It's actually there's been some beautiful moments. I think we've all weirdly got a bit closer to each other in some ways, even though we've had our traditional ways of socializing sort of cut out. We just have to find new ways of doing it, really.
Yeah, it's all about adapting, isn't it? It's all about finding new
Yeah.
ways, being creative about it, and trying to adapt as much as you can due to the conditions that you are being put in. And the same thing as well. We Malaysians over here, we are very much a very social type of people. We love to go out. We love to, our malls are our gardens. I know for a fact that in Dublin, you guys love the sun so much because you only get it 1 hour a year. That's the
Yeah.
case. Uh,
You
but
got to
but
get out there.
but then again, I mean, as you mentioned also previously, when the sun was out, people they still go out. They still go out, into the parks and everything. Are they still adhering to social distancing? Are they still obeying the rules and regulations that's given by the government, or did they just like forget about it and just enjoy the moment without even considering the cost of what could happen?
Yeah, well, it's a great question because like some people are very conscious and you can see it when you go out. Some people feel you can see them being uncomfortable and trying to avoid, and especially when the restrictions were at their hardest, the vast majority of people I did feel were really trying to stick to the rules. But now restrictions have been lifted, and actually today is a pretty important day here in Ireland because a lot of the restrictions are being lifted. You can still see some people are very nervous about that and really trying to avoid everyone, and other people are just acting like nothing ever happened. So it's like just as if it was like a bad dream or something, and now we can all just go back to normal. So there's this weird mix of kind of feelings going on, and sometimes it's hard to know what to do. We people want to go and hug each other now, and some people think it's okay to start shaking hands and hugging, and other people are like no. So there's a lot of mixed emotions and kind of weird awkwardness actually around how people are relating right now. So it's
Yeah,
been
and you also mentioned that right now you are actually a student of psychotherapy. You have been given the opportunity to actually speak with a lot of people in regards of their mental health to really understand where do they stand, what kind of state that they're in, especially during these testing time. Maybe you can actually share with our audiences what kind of feelings or what kind of scenarios or situations that you have actually come across with that has been, going through a lot of people's minds, specifically in Ireland.
Yeah. I mean, as sociable as we are, there's still lots of people who, live alone, especially older folks, or if you're living out in rural areas who just don't have much contact with, with others, maybe they're with their neighbors and that's kind of about it. And during this whole COVID situation, it's like it's made that even more extreme. So people who were maybe suffering from loneliness and a bit of isolation before, now it's just multiplied even for them. So um, there's that kind of aspect. So that sort of loneliness, people suffering from things like depression, where they're sort of very low mood. It hasn't helped with that either. And then anxiety is a big one because people who are generally worried about a lot of things in life and what if this happens and what if that happens, and there's so much insecurity around COVID. I think that's had a huge impact on people specifically who've been suffering from anxiety. It's just made a lot of things worse for a lot of people, unfortunately. So the idea of like really community and support is more important now than ever. And Ireland has been quite good about that. I feel there seems to be a lot of support and a lot of care. But obviously, some people aren't maybe feeling that, and it's a bit overwhelming as well for some people. A lot of people like to say that people with depression sort of just get over it, get out there and get some exercise and meet people, and it's just not that. It's not that easy for people. And now this has just made it has put up another hurdle almost, or another challenge for people. So, I mean, to be fair, I end up talking to a lot of people who maybe already have some mental health challenges. So I'm hearing a lot of like how COVID has been making that worse. So, but it's not all, it's not all just that side. There's a lot of very resourceful people and people who are really lucky with a great family and friend sort of network around them. And I think they've become, in some ways, maybe even closer family or closer to friends because of the situation. You're really reliant on the people that are close by, because we just can't get out there and meet so many new people. So family and friends, I think, have become incredibly important, and a lot of relationships have become enriched almost through it. So,
Yeah, every cloud has a silver lining because any circumstances, any bad situation, there's always a good thing that can come out of it one way or another.
yeah,
You did mention as well that the Ireland itself, you guys are quite well in regards of making things try to get things better. Has the government offered plenty of solutions? How has the government react in regards of taking care, or at least pay more attention to these people in regards of taking care of the mental health issues and everything?
yeah. I mean, in terms of mental health, I suppose it's the same resources that we had before the pandemic are
Mhm.
still in place there. I don't feel that there's been a huge amount of additional support being offered by the government. I don't want to be too cynical about our
Hmm.
government, but they kind of have this tendency to leave a lot of these issues up to sort of charitable organizations, so that actually aren't government funded at all. And I know that there's an amazing organization that helps people specifically in terms of self harm and suicide. They've had to let people go because they have paid counselors or therapists. They've had to let people go because they don't have the funding to support those that level of staff. And as far as I know, the government hasn't stepped in to try and help them. The government has been doing other things, maybe with more financial assistance, for sure. But in terms of mental health, it hasn't been. Yeah, they've probably been a bit passive on all that. I think there's a lot of with around things like that. It's been a more survival mode at the moment, in a way. You know, are we going to help people through this economically, and then almost let's think about the impact on mental health later on. But I think it was underestimated at the start, the impact on mental health, which I get as well. You kind of have to prioritize, right? First of all, we got to survive the thing and not all catch the virus. And then maybe after that, we'll think about how people are coping with it in terms of impact on things like anxiety, depression, or other sort of isolation. So it's been probably in terms of prioritization. I feel like the government has done generally a pretty good job in terms of dealing with it. And I think most Irish people are kind of supportive of the way our government has handled it. So
On that matter, you did mention also that some companies out there had to let go of their employees because the
yeah,
fact that they're not getting businesses, they can't just afford to pay the salaries of all these people. How
yeah,
has the employment rate been for the Irish community, and how
yeah.
has it been affecting the whole country as a whole? Because Malaysia, we've had a surge of unemployment in the
Hmm.
history of the Malaysian unemployment history. How
Yeah.
has it been for Ireland?
It's been pretty bad over here. I mean, as well. Look, this country kind of lives from tourism is a massive income, I suppose, generator in this country. So the whole travel and tourism branch has been incredibly badly hit. But just no bookings coming in really this year at all. Um, so many areas have been affected, and unemployment has absolutely shot up. So even myself, I work, so I'm studying psychotherapy, but I actually work part time as a freelance business consultant. And anyone with a freelance contract, a lot of just made this choice of like, right, anyone on a freelance thing, we need to just, when their contract ends, no renewing of freelancer contracts. And then doing things like putting people who are on a 5 day week full time onto a 4 day week. Then I've been having some conversations with people who are doing 60 hours at the moment. They're supposedly, theoretically, on a 4 day week. There's still loads of business. So I think there was a kind of knee-jerk reaction from a lot of companies. It's like, oh no, COVID, we're going to lose loads of revenue, so we need to start cutting costs now. Which I understand. But then there's been quite a quick recovery in a lot of areas, and a lot of orders and business is still happening, or it was on pause for a few weeks, and now it's starting to happen again. And now a lot of companies, I think, find themselves short-staffed almost.
Yeah.
I also a bit
It's a bit of a I mean, like, granted, these kind of people, a lot of organization, a lot of companies out there, when the crisis hits them, they start to let go. But now again, in Malaysia as well, they're starting up when the economy is starting back, they are now short-handed. They need people at the end of the day, but they are being creative in hiring people and trying to get businesses moving forward as it was before. Now, lastly, Alex, I do want to ask you, the new normal in Ireland, are the Irish ready to actually handle the new normal, to your opinion?
Well, you know what? I think we don't even know what the new normal is. We're not there yet, even because if the new normal just means a constant state of flux and change and not knowing what things are like and how they work, if that's the new normal, then I'd say we're not ready for that because nobody likes insecurity. The Irish probably don't like it any more than anyone else. So I think everyone would love to know what's the score, what's it going to be like. At the moment, we just don't. And there's just constant discussion around it. And it's getting a bit, you almost get fed up talking about COVID with every person you meet. It's a part of conversation all the time. So I don't think we're ready. I don't think we'll ever be ready for it. We just have to adapt. You said it earlier. We're all great at adapting, mostly. So I think we're just going to have to learn to continue to adapt constantly in the situation.
Yeah, I guess it's all about the survival of the fittest. If you can adapt, the better you can actually definitely make yourself more sustainable. I mean, like not
Yeah, I would say though, survival of the
uh,
fittest. We do need to look out for people in our society who maybe aren't the fittest, and I think that's what separates us maybe from some other animals. And I know there are animals that care for each other, but I do think it's our responsibility as individuals as well, not just to rely on governments, organizations, to actually be there for each other. Watch your friends and how they're feeling, and try and support and care for each other, and have some empathy. You know.
exactly. I mean that family closeness. I mean, it's all about bringing up the community because that's where it all starts. If you can't even handle yourself within your own community, how
Yeah.
can a whole country move forward for the better? Alex Kenny from Ireland, thank you so much, mate, for being on Let's Chat. Really appreciate it, and please stay safe and be as normal as you can. I guess.
You
Thank
too.
you. All right, that was Alex Kenny down in Ireland, and hope you guys are, you enjoyed it and you understand how things are, different with other countries as well. And hope it was insightful. Hope it was beneficial for you viewers. All right, folks, that's all for now from me on Let's Chat with Meor, and hope to see you again on our next episode. Take care now.